All right, well, this is Aaron Squire coming to you with my buddy Mokog. This is the first time he's been on with me. We're just going to talk about a couple of different things, and we'll do the deck doctor today. Mokog is a financial type person, so he has a lot of he has a lot of knowledge when it comes to that. So we'll be talking to him later about some of the finances in Hex. It's going to be really neat to get that perspective on things. We'll also be talking about the Kickstarter patch that was recently dropped and some of the patch notes that happened last Thursday, I believe, or was it on Wednesday? It really doesn't matter. They're in place now. And beyond that, the deck doctor we've got tonight is a Wild Sapphire deck by looks like from my friend Derringer. It's one of those two. So let's go ahead and start things off with the Kickstarter update. So we'll go ahead and pull this up, and I will maximize it, and we'll zoom into it. Yes. So we had them talking about some of the Twitch stuff that's been going on. We also have them talking about the tournaments. They're going to have some sort of single elimination 8-person queues. Possibly, it doesn't look like they're going to have any type of. Reading into this, it doesn't look like there's going to be any type of sideboarding possible. But the fact that they have something to do tournaments seems pretty awesome. What do you think about this, Mokog?
Well, hi everyone, Mokog here. As far as it comes to the tournaments, I think it's a great time for us to get in and start doing the testing server once everyone's getting out of school. I want to give every single chance I have to win one of those tournaments and maybe get one of their elusive prizes that they've been talking about. Because they said that there might be goodies or something specially delivered in the future if you happen to be one of the winners.
Wow. Yeah, that's going to be awesome. I mean, the wonderful thing about playing online games like this is anytime, day or night, you know, if I wake up really early before the kids get up, or if my wife kicks me out of bed or something, I can always get online and play some Hex, you know. So
true that. Because we got players out in Australia, Germany, other parts of Europe, over in Asia. They're all over the world, which means we almost have enough people in queue at all points of the day.
Right, especially now that we have about 25,000 people online, or in at least in the alpha right now, and more to come, of course, once the game just keeps growing and getting bigger and bigger as people are joining through Slacker backers, and eventually when it goes into open beta. So moving on, we got Shaggy from the Hex CCG Pro. He had to leave us, but it was for greener pastures, as he is the new community manager. Really good step up. He's got a lot of work ahead of him. I actually watched recently a thing on what was his name? I forget. Extra Credits had a thing where he talks about community managers in video games and how it is that they have a really tough job, and some of them are underappreciated. I don't feel like that's going to be a problem with Cryptozoic, because they are very much sensitive to people and their workers, and it seems like it's a really good working environment there. So what do you think about this, Mokog?
Well, first off, congratulations. The community manager job is a really tough job. It's a big challenge, and Shaggy was really bringing it on the YouTube side of things and trying to build a community for TCG Pro. It was noticeable to everyone, including Cryptozoic, apparently. So fantastic, congratulations. And I apologize in advance because at some point I am going to be really mean to you, but I need to apologize now because you have to take the brunt of that. And it's going to be vicious.
Whoa.
This is the early part. Everyone's happy in the alpha. But let's see when set 3 comes around.
Everyone's
we disagree about things.
I don't know about them. Everyone being happy.
Going on.
There's plenty of complainers out there for sure.
Oh, yeah, but this is the light complaining. Just go look at the World of Warcraft forums. You know, you had your early complainers then, and then it got vicious once they started actually knowing what was going on.
Sure. Yeah, as the popularity of a game gets more and more and more, yeah, it's true that you get a lot more ragers, a lot more people that are getting in, and they feel that everything is owed to them, and no one else should be able to win and all this kind of stuff. So let's. I'm sure that Shaggy's going to do a bang-up job, and I really wish him well.
I do too. I believe that he will do a fantastic job, and he's got that professional side. I believe in him. I believe in you, Shaggy. I just apologize now. I just got to say it now.
Pre-apologies. Okay, so
Yes.
moving on, we've got the Hex Apprentice program. A lot of people have signed up for this, and they have started to go through the interviewing portion of that. I myself am looking possibly in the next 6, 7, 8, I don't know, X amount of years to be applying to Cryptozoic myself. We've got a lot of people that are they're plussing up their numbers. They obviously got a lot on their Kickstarter. They need all the help they can get because this is a big undertaking. We've already seen them take on partners overseas for servers and to make sure that they can implement it and so that there'll be low lag times over there. I think it's just a really great thing. How do you feel about this, Mokog?
It's coming in at the right time. The biggest reason is that they need this apprentice program to really begin the covert work necessary for sets 2 and 3 to get some really good advanced players with good design concepts to get in and understand what's going on. They have a long road ahead of them when it comes to design, and they need as many ideas and as much input as possible. Good timing. I appreciate it.
Right.
And again, once we know who these people are, we're going to give them a hard time as well.
Oh, sure, sure. Now we're also talking about some of these nightly updates, and I actually remember somebody telling me when things were crashing late at night, they were like, "Oh no, they wouldn't be patching now." I was like, "They always patch at night. That's when they like to do it," which makes sense because there should be a lower population of people online, so less people affected. Typically, because most of our players are in the U.S. So they're actually going to be informing us a little bit more, so we'll have a little bit more of an idea of what's going on with these updates. It looks like 3 updates a week. I just think that's really good too. It's just going to help us know exactly what's going on, and more information is good typically. What do you think about that?
Well, I know there's been a lot of, not necessarily outrage, but a lot of comments from the community that have been asking for more plans and when information is going to be disseminated, what's going to be disseminated. So this is definitely a good move on Cryptozoic's part. 3 times a week is probably about what they're going to need for some general alpha stuff. If they do, your patch update, your Kickstarter update, and maybe a server stability or fund update, I think they could spread this out pretty well.
So beyond that, they're talking about customer support, and I just encourage everyone to use the support forums. Any other forum that's a community forum, you're probably not going to get a lot of information, and if you do, it's from another member that's just like you. So the best thing to do is usually go straight to the Cryptozoic forums if you have a question or if you have a ticket you need to open or something technical or something's just broken. Just go there directly first. The community sites are great for explaining card playing and all this other stuff, but technical stuff, I'd much prefer a Cryptozoic employee to answer over somebody that's just another player like us, because we don't have insight into exactly all the different things that are going on with the client.
Yeah, as much as we can infer on this, the support.hextcg.com, it works. And I'll be honest, the first day it was open, I used it for when my alpha invite was a little bit delayed. And they were kind, helpful. They got around a turnaround of about 4 hours to be able to answer that ticket and take care of it. So you do have to follow the guidelines to be able to get really quick support because they are separated by distance from the main office. But you take care of those and make sure that you follow up on the forums because this company responds on its forums. That's very, very important. The main forums are very useful.
Right. So moving on, we had a patch update this week, and it looks like for some reason my scroll bar is not there. It goes. It's scrolling now. We got it. It's scrolling now.
Yay!
Decently good update. Some of the known issues were not surprising. We all knew that Countermagic was causing a lot of sync issues, which is why I have chosen not to play it in the tournament. I mean, I'll play it in casual games, but not really in tournaments. A sync issue is typically when you'll see it shuffling all the cards around. It's shuffling like all zones, and that's every turn typically, and so that can take a long time.
Yes, it takes a very long time.
All right, so beyond that, some of the other ones were kind of surprising. I had no idea that like the construction plans was doing it for the Warhulk, Eldritch Shield, or yesterday. I mean, I can understand Countermagic because it affects cards in all zones, and so it's probably shuffling things around because it's adding to their cost. The other ones, I'm not sure exactly why, from a technical standpoint, what's going on, but obviously those are also creating problems. Other things that they added were some just general functionality things. One of the big ones for functionality was what was it? Oh yeah, so when you're doing your deck, it now tells you after you save it if it's an invalid deck, which is kind of a big deal because if you saw me on Monday, I agonized over putting more than 4 shards or 4 gems, 4 of the same gem in a deck. It was invalid and I had no idea, and it just simply doesn't show up, and so I was trying to figure out if it wasn't saving. So now you'll know it's an invalid deck. By the way, you can't have more than 4 of the same gem in your deck, if anybody was wondering about that.
Yes, builder beware.
So, moving on, okay, go ahead.
There was another one that was very important. We have our capitalization rage back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, capitalization is always nice to have because it is kind of annoying when I'm capitalizing names and other things, and all of a sudden they're like lowercase, and you're like, well, I guess I just won't capitalize anymore. So moving on, they added some new cards: Twisted Fate, Sadistic Castigator, Uranaz. Uranaz, of course, is the big dragon. That's really the biggest one. Twisted Fate, Sadistic Castigator, they're okay. We talked about the TCG Procast yesterday. I'm not really going to rehash them too much, but just know that Uranaz is a dragon that basically has a recursion factor whenever he's dealing damage, and he's going to bring stuff back from the graveyard. A really good control piece, but the other stuff was kind of, it's all right. It's not amazing.
Well, to not take it too long, because I haven't checked everything out on y'all's cast yet, but I've been doing my own play testing with Twisted Fate to see how it's been affecting the mill mechanics, and I've been very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, the first time it was actually out, I saw Mythic Fish Mom use Twisted Fate, which is I can look for it, but basically it's a permanent that sits on the board that when you cast cards, you mill your opponent cards. Or no, wait, when you draw cards. Yeah,
your opponent discards a card from the top of their deck.
Right. So what he was doing is he played a card that's a lot like Howling Mine. He played the double red, where both players draw an extra card, and so.
That's a fun version of it, but it also works with your Secret Laboratory. It works with your Oracle Song. It also happens to work with your Relentless Corruption. So there are many other triggers for draw, and it seems to work with all of them so far.
Right.
Oh, and it also happens to work with Bottled Vitae.
Right, anything with a draw mechanic, really. So let's move on to talk to Mokog about what his forte is. And Mokog, I remember seeing his very first videos. He got into this earlier than I did, into the whole trying to talk about Hex and build up the community. So he's one of the first people I looked to see videos. And he started out by talking about the economy. And he did 2 economy videos, and I'm sure you've done some more since then. So why don't we just start off? I'll just like to ask you, what made you want to do some of these videos that you did?
When it comes to looking at the Hex economy, or shorthand we called it Hexonomics, I study different types of economy. I have my own leanings on those, and I was bringing in one field that I enjoy and bringing it into another field. So it's always great when you bring one passion and slam it into a newfound passion and see what you can make out of it. And that's a lot of where the energy for the Hexonomics material came from. And plus, it's also really good mental exercises to see how the math works out, to see what projections can be, and to create a good logical reasoning for what could be unfolding.
Right, and I'm just pulling up the YouTube right now where we had this is one of your first videos, and I'm not going to play it for everybody, so they can look it up themselves. Oh, that's pretty loud. Make sure it is that you're going and checking out his YouTube as well. He's Hex Hunter Mokog on YouTube, but he goes through and does all these things, and you can see he's very, very popular with people. We're moving on. Some of the stuff that you talked about, like when I'm looking at a pack of cards, I look and I say, okay, if I'm buying a pack for $4 in Magic's case, I'm paying $4 for a rare card. All the rest of that stuff is chaff. The commons are chaff, and the uncommons are somewhat chaff. To me, I'm basically buying a rare card, and so I'm paying $4 for that. And so a rare card that prices below that threshold is probably less useful, and something around that threshold is pretty good. But then things that start stepping up that threshold, those things are much better in the format. But when we start getting into, like, I'd say triple and quadruple, those are like the must-haves of value. So could you just walk me through some of the ways it is that you're looking at the economy there?
So the economy, to start off with, we have a couple big factors that apply into it. We have some set prices that we know. We know that a standard pack is going to be $2 per pack. We have a few good ideas of how they'll break down cards, because Cryptozoic is a TCG company. They ran the World of Warcraft TCG. A lot of their experience is from the World of Warcraft TCG. A lot of how they describe the distribution model of Hex so far in their Kickstarter and some of their other releases seem as though they're going to mirror much of how the WoW TCG works. Not all of it's final, so we always deal with projection. And in that, we know that if $2 should be the cost of your average playable rare, but not necessarily your constructed dream rare, you should have a price that averages around there. But there's another factor that comes to that. We have a massive amount of Kickstarter backers coming in who, on average, paid much less than $2 for their Kickstarter tier per pack that they end up receiving. So you have an imbalance that occurs. When you have an imbalance like that, you can go and see what the absolute minimum would be that you would want to look at for either a trade or a purchase. And you go, all right, how much is that? How many rares should we expect? What's our guaranteed market? What are our general minimal numbers? You know, we don't have the numbers that affect margins yet, which is a lot of what modern economics really has a tendency to look at, and a lot of statistics tends to be used. But because we don't have that number set yet, we can look at some of the really basic stuff, and that's what Hexonomics and Hexonomics 2 videos try to take a look at.
Right. So looking at, I pulled it up right now. When let's say that you basically didn't get the Kickstarter, you're going to wait for the full beta to be over. You're going to get into the game. You get your free starter deck, so you can play that PvE content, but you don't really, I don't know, maybe want to necessarily buy the booster packs, but you want to play PvP eventually, so you could go down and use the auction house. I mean, what do you think about that? How do you think that might shape up? Or can you give me any idea of what you think about that?
If you come in within the first few weeks, maybe the first few months, you can cherry pick rares from the auction house pretty well, because you'll take your actual money and turn it into platinum, and then you can take that to the PvP auction house. The reason that you can do that, you can get greater value for your money by selectively buying the right rares, because generally their price is going to be below the $2 per pack. So if your ethos when purchasing packs is I'm paying for the rare, then you'll want to take your $2 and go buy 1 to 2, maybe 3 rares that you can use versus buying the pack. The other side of that, though, is buying a pack has the chance at producing what's commonly called a god pack, or is going to be a primal pack in Hex TCG, where the entire thing is going to be rares and legendaries.
Right.
So the primal pack, I believe, is Cryptozoic's way of stabilizing the first part of their economy, and then making sure that they have an ever continuing teaser to continuously entice packs from their current player base and their new player base.
Right, and that's just an amazing thing that they can do, that it's very difficult to execute with other games. I mean, I guess that Magic could put out packs that are all rares, and then no one would know what they were, and then all of a sudden you would pull it, and then it would be rares. They did something like that with, what was it, Odyssey? Or no, not Odyssey. There was one where like they were throwing like alpha and beta like cards in them or something, and it was like people were pulling those, and so like it was like find some treasure, like it was a treasure hunt type of thing. But it's just a lot easier to do with this game because you'll know what your primal pack is when you buy it.
Yes. So, and the big difference is, Magic the Gathering, even when Odyssey was out, they had tournament structures that relied on the randomization of physical packs, and they couldn't delineate whenever one of these treasure packs would come up in one of those environments.
Right.
And it completely warps the rule set, warps the tournament, and is not consistently fair across the board. But
Right.
you can Cryptozoic can make sure that primal packs never enter into a draft tournament.
Right.
But they
yeah.
can make sure that they wind up as prizes in a draft tournament. So they have much greater control of the incentive structures with an included minimization of their costs.
Right. And
Genius.
We've seen them also talk about other things like possibly putting some sort of like chests in there that you would open and might have another pack of cards, or it might do a lot of other things. More digital things in digital space that you can do easily. Like it would be very difficult to hide a second pack of cards in a physical medium inside of 15 card pack. Just some different things that could be possible out there.
Yeah, Magic has a great head start when it comes to a lot of different aspects of TCG design and their pedigree. But when it comes to the ingenuity and being able to please the customer, Hex is going to have a leg up because of their flexibility. And that's one of the reasons why I jumped on this Kickstarter, aside from the amazing gameplay and choreo dressing and drag.
Right, because without a game, it really doesn't matter all the rest of this stuff. Choreo dressing and drag.
Hey, he didn't do the
sinner.
hula. I was very surprised.
Oh man. So let's see. What else could we talk about with economics? Do you have any other things you might want to bring up with according to economics, or you think that might be interesting topics there?
There's an awful lot of aspects to the economics that they haven't released yet because we've not fully approached the beta. The next big topic that's going to come up is what happens when they confirm their auction house style, and what does it mean? Because part of a market is knowing, when to buy, when to sell. The other part is execution. So someone who can build an add-on or a program that can maximize the auction house is going to end up having a leg up, and that changes how well a new player can get in and maximize their dollar.
Right.
So we have a lot of different ethical issues and sticky areas that Cryptozoic is probably dealing with that will trickle down into the community base whenever they're ready to push that down.
Right.
So there's a lot to talk about, but we have to wait until they bring that to the forefront.
Right. I mean, there are other sites where it is that they will sell you Magic the Gathering Online cards off of their site for real money. And it's a straight real money. You can sell your cards to them for real money, but within the client itself, you have to use tickets. It's all tickets in that system. We actually have like a gold exchange, which is coming from the PvE element, which is very interesting. Plus, we have real money exchange, which is going to be in this game.
Yes.
And we've got a world market involved.
That's a whole nother bag of worms, too.
Right. Right.
So I'll give you a good for instance. So one of the biggest things that's occurred with the WoW TCG so far has been the introduction of in-game mounts that are only able to be acquired through the WoW TCG cards.
Right.
So what ends up occurring is that you have a significantly high rarity that gets associated with these, and people will pay $300, $600 for a Spectral Tiger mount in the World of Warcraft TCG.
Right.
We'll have a version of that in the Hex PvE environment, where what'll most likely will be equipment cards or certain types of vanity objects that will crop up as the game progresses that you will have a massive amount of gold for. So what you'll end up having is you'll either have a segment of rares that turn into a commodity, so something that is highly usable in PvE but very common in PvP.
Right.
That will probably become the currency of trade. So gold will influence the platinum price of that card, and that card becomes the exchange for real money into the gold market. That's what most likely will occur based on what they've released so far. But again, I can't confirm until we have good information.
Right.
That's the fun part.
Yeah, PvE right now is the big question mark to this game for sure, right? Because we have no idea how hard it's going to be to grind out some of the equipment cards or some of the other PvE stuff. I mean, you'll be able to play PvE pretty well. I don't even think we've seen that many PvE cards. We've seen a decent amount, but there's going to be, 650 cards here?
Total
300.
set, I believe.
Yeah, 650 cards. We've seen mostly the PvP cards because that's what they're balancing to.
Yes.
So things that we're going to see in the PvP that are going to be expensive are like your Wild Root Dancer and your basically the Fist of Brigadon, or you've got even like what's it called? Life Siphon is like coming out of the. I don't even know if that's rare. I think it is. But I mean, there's a lot of cards that are coming out right now that you could definitely see those being the chase cards for the set.
Well, and they're definitely chase rares for what Hex is going to be. Very quickly, because of the type of economy and that trades are not going to be based on tickets between cards, from my current understanding, and how the auction house will work, you're going to get a very different style of exchange from cards to real money. It's going to be absolutely fascinating when it comes up, which is one of the real kicks into actually making the videos. And if you want to find out the rudimentary numbers, go visit the channel. We'll go through those, or shoot me an email, a comment. I watch and listen to all of those, and I will respond whenever I can on those.
Right. So yeah, make sure to hit up Hex Hunter Mokog on his channel. He's got a YouTube channel. You also have a Twitch channel. So you can go ahead and post those in my chat, and then we will make sure to post those to the YouTube. They'll be in the comments below if you're looking for those. And then we're going to move on to this Deck Doctor. If you want to go ahead and plug those real quick again.
Sure thing. Oh man, gotta get my links ready.
You could talk through it while you're doing it as well.
So now you're telling me a little bit about this deck when it was coming up, but only a little bit. So drop the teaser for everyone else.
All right, yeah. So we'll just go through this. This is the deck we're talking about, and we've got Derringer, one of my viewers submitted this to me. Let's see if he's in channel. He is not in channel. Looks like even Shaggy's watching me right now. So hi, Shaggy. Thanks for
hey, Shaggy.
in. We got Sondai.
Congrats again, buddy.
Excellent viewership here. We got 6 people in channel, 7 people in channel, something like that. It's pretty good. Of course, we'll be syndicated in YouTube sometime this weekend. And we've got the this deck that he submitted to me. So it looks like what he's trying to do is draw a lot of escalation type cards and just kind of overwhelm his opponent. He's got the Ancestors Chosen to throw a lot of those Specters into the deck, draw the Specters. The Crash of Beasts we've seen be very, very dominant, very crazy. This is another chase rare. You're definitely going to want to have 4 of those when that comes out. Playing the Bottled Vitae to kind of smooth out his draws. He probably created this deck before there was Shards of Fate available, which has now recently come out. He's also got a Stargazer in here for a draw discard, Secret Lab draw discard, maybe a little bit too much draw discard there. Oracle Song, some Pack Raptors, which make more Pack Raptors. The thing is, there's going to be a lot of what I would call clunkiness, and I'm actually probably going to write an article about this. So what we have is possible competing forces, I would say.
Yes.
First of all, so it's like, okay, you've got the Crash of Beasts, we've got Ancestral Specters, and we've got Pack Raptor. Which one of these do we want to draw? Because they're all throwing stuff in our deck. We've got the Crash of Beasts going back in our deck. Do I want to draw more Crash of Beasts? Because if so, I may want to get rid of Chosen and Pack Raptor. Same thing with Chosen, same thing with Pack Raptor. What do you think about that, Mokog?
There's definitely the conflict between wanting to draw your escalation cards and putting in fast casting weenies. The biggest problem that I see here is that you're not going to have a full hand to be able to keep your weenies alive whenever removal's presented.
Right.
And you're not going to see Crash of Beasts often enough without a form of tutor card to be able to offset being wiped multiple times.
Right. We're also not seeing Countermagic in here, and basically most Sapphire decks are going to run between 2 and 4 Countermagic anyways. But that's probably because, again, at the time when he sent this to me, there was no Countermagic had not been introduced to the client. So,
and I mentioned Chaos Key would probably be readily transformed into Countermagic.
Yes, most definitely. Chaos Key is really good for ramp, and it's still a nice catch-all for decks, even especially on sideboards, but it's just so slow. Right now, Countermagic handles every card. There is no uncounterable cards yet. That may come in the future, but right now you just can't deal with... Countermagic says no to every card in the game, if you need it to.
Yeah, and we needed something that said no to everything as well.
Right. I mean, that'll probably get balanced a little bit more later, but it feels pretty balanced right now. There's only really 4 counter spells, and then you can technically count, what's the other one? The white one. Stone
Stone
Skin.
Skin.
Stone Skin is kind of like a counter magic, sort of, because
Yes.
it can stop things that target you
And
and your
troops.
troops. So it stops some things, but it doesn't stop, like counter magic stops a fist, and Stone Skin
Hmm.
won't. It won't stop me from playing fist, for instance.
Correct.
So that's the big difference. So let's go ahead and look at also the mana curve. He's got a lot of 1-drops in here. Not a really
Yes.
smooth mana curve. We like to see some curve to the mana curve. We don't want to see mountains.
Yeah. It's you might as well call that the Colorado Rockies of the deck
Right.
itself.
Right. So we're also going to be looking at that as we build the deck. So first thing first, we are going to probably whittle down. We're going to make a choice. We're going to choose either Crash of Beasts or Pack Raptor and get rid of the other one. I think that we can be okay by playing the Ancestors Chosen because those specters, those 2/2 specters that's throwing into the deck for that cost only 1 are going to cantrip us possibly into more Pack Raptors or more Crash of Beasts anyways. However, it can be a little bit clunky if you need to get something other than a body in play
Yep.
sometimes. So what do you think? You think we should go Crash of Beasts or you think we should go Pack Raptor here? So the big drawback to Crash of Beasts, of course, is the double threshold.
Yeah, so the Crash of Beast double threshold, if we put in a couple Shards of Fate, that's not going to be as much of an issue, especially at a 3 cost there. I would choose the Crash of Beasts in this case
Mm,
because your Ancestors Chosen's put in a much better token than additional Pack Raptors in this case, especially with the current metagame that I'm seeing evolve. Putting in a 1 for 2/2 flyer is absolutely fantastic, and then it draws you a card.
right,
It's much better whenever a single one comes into play. Pack Raptor's power comes in when they're in a pack. They get fantastic at 2/2. They become formidable when you get your third one in play.
right,
But as a Spectre comes in and you go, I now have to deal with a 2/2 flyer, and my opponent just drew a card. I don't like this anymore. A
right.
Pack Raptor comes into play and you go, oh well, I can sorrow, I can
Yeah, a 1/1 Pack
persecute, I
Raptor in
can
an open
murder,
board
I
state
can.
is very easily dealt with. You're right. So I think I agree with you here. So we're going to pull those starting off here.
So I mean, and then you have the question of what other 1-drops would you like? I would probably also go ahead and take a hard look at if that Stargazer is really doing enough to draw a card and discard a card versus the Secret Laboratory there,
Right.
because it gets removed so easily as a 1/1 troop,
Mm.
while your Secret Laboratory sits there as an artifact and it's much harder to target.
Right. So the choice we're making between Secret Laboratory and Stargazer here is Secret Laboratory is going to be very castable. At 3, it's a little bit slower, obviously, but the Stargazer is another body. So if we want to use it as a body, if we had something maybe to pump it up or something to do something with it, that's pretty good. So it depends if we want bodies or if we want something that's tougher to deal with. And I think that if we're going to stick with something, it'll probably be Laboratory. We might even get rid of Laboratory, to be honest.
Well, and I think that comes down to the decision of, do you want this deck to be a green beats primarily, or do you want it to be a Sapphire control primarily? Because we could splash in the control, and that would very quickly change the theme of the deck and
Right.
the style of play that it would have.
Right.
Because if we wanted to, we could toss in the scout in here, give him the gem to go ahead and be spell shield to replace that one, and you would have a very different style of deck, and you'd want to put a lot more growth cards in there.
Right.
I
Right.
mean,
And
because
another card that's a key card that's missing from this deck right away to me is that there's no Wild Root Dancer, and he could easily go in here. So we're probably going to add him.
with the amount of resources he's running, he can't take
Oh, those
proper
resources
care
are
of a
going to
root
change.
answer.
That's
Oh yeah, I
that's
mean
going to
they'll
change.
definitely need to change. I agree, because with so many 1-drops, he could run 22 resources, but
Yeah.
running with the 2 thresholds and a lot more of the 3/4 cost cards, he's going to want 24, maybe 25.
Right. So we're going to pull Stargazer from the deck. And
Oh man,
Sensei,
you dropped him down to 1 laboratory.
we drop it down to 1 for now. So here's the other thing problem I have with Laboratory when we're playing with Sapphire. We are drawing cards that we don't have to discard when we play things like Oracle Song or the Ancestors Chosen with the Specters. We have draw power, nice draw power that's within our shard, whereas Laboratory feels like it should be played in something more like that mono wild ramp, where it is the draw power is just not there. And so you're going to sack a card to draw a card. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not really coming out ahead on this. You're just more or less manipulating your deck with Laboratory. How do you feel
Well,
about
I guess
that?
another part about that is, taking a look up and down. Almost half the cards appear to be to enable some form of draw, so you won't have anything in your hand to Secret Laboratory anyway.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, we could
So I
probably
think
even pull it completely.
I think the Bottled Vitae essentially replaces that power of the Laboratory.
Right. Yeah, the Vitae is going to help smooth out our draws and make sure that we can get to these shards. Of course, we'll be adding Shards of Fate as well.
Did he pick a champion on this yet?
He hasn't. I mean, we could go with the card drawing one, which actually got better after the last Streamers tournament when they did a patch. He's now 5 to draw a card instead of 6.
Oh yeah, that 6 was very, very rough.
Yeah, that was pretty. Yeah, that was only happening once in a game.
Yeah.
Now that he's at 5, there's a better chance that it'll happen maybe twice.
Yeah, I mean, for as far as it comes to the champion, I think the wild champion who gains the 5 health might be a little bit more stabilizing for this deck,
Right.
because of the already existing amount of draw that's here.
Right. So,
Because for those 5 charge points, you're getting that direct 5 bit of HP, which is going to help level you versus aggro and help prevent or help mitigate some of the life siphon damage you're probably going to end up taking throughout like a tournament structure.
So the Eldritch Stream isn't horrible here. We're trying to draw cards. He doesn't shuffle back in the deck, so he doesn't compete with Crash Abyss or the Specters. Yep. We'll probably gem him for card draw, and the reason why is because instead of doing the spell shield is because we have Countermagic. Countermagic is going to help stave off anything that's going to remove him. He's a very important card. Recently we saw that this troop cannot be blocked was removed from the cards within the client. However, he still actually performs that way within the client, which we talked about in the cast last night, and we believe that it's not an error. We feel the error is that this phrase got removed from the card, not that he didn't get rescripted properly. So we're going to go ahead and keep him in as is, and I feel like card draw is what we'll end up going with there.
Part of my gut still goes dropping rhinos in after every attack is fantastic, though.
Sure.
And that's kind of what Crash of Beast screams out to me, and that's the reason why he included that escalation card versus any of the other sets out there. Because, having your Eldritch Dreamer come in, being protected by Countermagic, unblockable, dropping in 3/3 rhinos, well,
right.
Sometimes a card in play is worth more than one in hand.
That's true. It's possible. I mean, yeah, that's more like when you're drawing a card, you don't necessarily know what that card's going to be. So, I suppose that's a viable option as well. So we can actually try that, I think. I don't have a problem with that.
And if anything, for sideboard, you would probably want to gem in or have sideboarded gems for draw and sideboarded gems for the rhinos, because in some matchups you want the draw, in some matchups you want the rhinos.
Right. So here's the Major Sapphire. It says when this troop enters play, you draw a card, and then we are actually going to go with the Wild instead. We may even consider playing the what's it called, the Howling Brave to possibly get to that wild threshold, because I think this is a double threshold. This is a major gem on this guy, so we can put anything we want in there. We just need to make sure we have the threshold requirements to get that gem active. It's kind of clunky. If we were to play that card, that's probably why I would probably sway towards more the other card draw as well. So that's just another thing we need to think about.
Yeah, the Howling Brave is a really good touch, especially because it enables a turn 2 Crash of Beasts and a turn 3 Dreamer.
Right, for sure.
If I remember correctly.
And in fact, that we could even play the one that untaps them, and maybe even go a little bit bigger. So let's go ahead and drop one in there. We can always up this when we need to. Let's put that in there. We were also looking for a counter magic. I put that in there, and I really feel like, I mean, it's just he's just so dominant. Wild Root Dancer is just like, if you can cast him, especially in this range, I mean, he just it's an easy choice for me, really. I mean, it's like, why not?
Well,
The only time Wild Root Dancer is really bad is when you cast him in an open field and he has nothing to buff, or you don't have any shards or something,
Yes. The other part I found is Wild Root Dancer, with so much draw that's entering into play, he can be a focus and he can be a draw away as well. So, for instance, if I have a threat in my hand that is more powerful than Root Dancer, let's say I have my my third escalated Crash of Beasts, I might want to use the Root Dancer to draw the counter spell to prevent him from buffing, and then bring in my Crash of Beasts afterwards. So, because the Root Dancer is aggressively costed for what he does.
Right, exactly. Another card we could consider playing is maybe a singleton, or like a two, either cards that like tap everything down, like maybe Gralk, or we could play the one where you get to take an extra turn. We might consider that, especially if we play the one that untaps all of our cards, with the Howling Braves. That actually, if we play that champion, that actually makes a case for us to go back and put what's it called back in. Maybe as a maybe a Stargazer back in if we decide to play with that champion.
Well, possibly, but Stargazer still suffers from the same problem that the laboratory suffers from.
Right, exactly. I mean, it would be like a 1 over a 2 of, if anything. So we gotta make our decisions. Battle Beetle probably doesn't really fit this deck. I do love the Battle Beetle, though. Time Ripple, not so much. Another card we might consider is maybe a singleton, what's his name, where you draw cards when you play spells.
Oh goodness, they changed who he was because he's no longer the Archmage.
There he is, Archmage Wrenlocke. Yeah, we might consider this guy. We'll put one in there. I mean, he is unique. We have to look at how many spells we're casting, and we do have Crash. We have decided on Crash, so that gives us more spells, and that would activate Archmage. Seems like a decent combo. We don't have Jabdeem yet.
Now, do we want to add in a couple basic combat tricks, because bringing in Wild Growth may not be a bad idea for their cost?
Right, so this is another thing where, like, recently I've gone to Wild Aura over Wild Growth, and the reason why is because Wild Growth, again, would compete with the other cards in our deck for the ones we're going to try to draw. So it's a matter of, if I shuffle this Wild Growth back into my deck, would I rather draw that or another Crash of Beasts? And then most of the time I find myself saying to myself, man, I wish I had some more Crash of Beasts here. Not like, oh, I wish I had this Wild Growth so I could combat trick my opponent. It's typically the feeling I have, whereas Wild Aura is going to sit on the creature and give it that crush, and it's going to permanently be there. And I can still do it as a quick action, as a combat trick. So a lot of times I'm getting value out of it, where before it is that they try to 2-for-1 me by like murdering my creature.
I definitely I can agree with those. I think the only difference would be making sure that you always have mana open for your counterspell. And so the lower costing for the lack of permanence works as that temporary combat trick. But I think that's one where you have to see how well it's playing, and that's a metagame decision. So I think those would be a switch in the sideboards.
Right, and that might just be personal style decisions as well.
Yeah, it's just the only thing that gets me on Wild Aura is the 4. I would love it if they made its cost a little more aggressive, but then it might be broken. So take what you get, right?
Right, exactly. So they recently changed Research Library, and if you look at him, of course, he really won't fit in this deck because we don't have any artifacts, but he's another one that you might look at playing, that guy that untaps all your guys. He used to be basic action once per turn. Now he is...
Oh, now he's whenever.
You exhaust him, draw a card, which means he doesn't work the turn he comes in, but he'll work every turn after that, whereas before, he worked the turn he came in, and it was once per turn. So, kind of has both things. But you could untap him and do it again. So.
That's true. If we were running a little bit heavier relics that stayed in play, he would be considerable.
I think a top-end Gralk might be okay, especially if we have lots of Rhinos in play. I mean, we can put one. We can look at what it's going to do for us.
Well, and I think the the choice there is kind of the choice between Grok or Time Mastery.
Right. Another thing we might look at as well here while we're looking at things is the guy. If we decide to play the flying champion, we wouldn't play this guy. But if we don't, we could consider playing the one that gives everything flying. We have flying rhinos all over the place, which would be kind of humorous.
Oh, the inspiration.
Yeah, inspiration troop. Consider that guy. I mean, a lot of this stuff is like considerations. He's got the one threshold. That's really important for us when we're in double. He could be interesting. I mean, he has like a 2-of to buff a lot of our troops. I would look at him as a buff, but also a body.
Yeah, I mean, he's there. He would be there to be able to block off some 1/1s and maybe do some chump trades. I don't know if it would work the best with the crush aspect of the rhinos. I mean, you would crush through any birds that are there, but that seems to be a more limited play. Because other than that, he would work better with something that was non-rhinos. He works with, giving flight to everything, not just giant crushing creatures barreling down 2, 3, 4 at a time.
Let's see, mimic. Just kind of throwing some random ideas in here, and then we'll just pare it all down when we get back over there. Okay, I think we're good. Oh, Eldritch Shield. That actually... Yeah, we gotta play like 2 of these, I think. Especially with Eldritch Dream. This will give him that spell shield.
Granted troop, the permanent spell shield?
Permanent spell shield. And you want to do this, you always want to do this as in a reaction to, because then you get value out of it. You fizzle or counter your opponent's spell. I've seen a lot of people just be like, oh, my opponent can't do anything, so I'm going to cast this during my main phase just so it's on the troop, and then now I can feel good about them not doing anything. It's much, much better to just hold it and respond with it.
Well, and if anything, that is another form of counter spell for your burn and murders that come through.
Right. So
yeah, I agree with that. Let's toss a couple in there for sure.
So we got 70 cards we need to pair. Oh, you know what we need to put in here? We need to go back and get Shards of Fate. I don't think we got that. That's kind of important.
I think, yes, if I would say...
Yeah, we'll just play the play set.
We probably want to run 4 Shards of Fate.
Yeah,
considering we're not...
your turn 1 is somewhat important.
Yeah.
If we run Howling Brave, turn 1's pretty important. If we don't, not so much. If we decide to stick with that. What champion are we going to be going with, actually? Let's go and pull up all the champions. Let's see. Come over here. Type. Champion. Okay, so we should probably make a decision here. You're saying Running Deer is the one you would go with to give us a little bit more extension. He doesn't actually read this way anymore. He now reads 5... Oh, wait, no, that is how he reads, isn't it? 5 charges for 6... No, it's for 5 health.
I think it's 4 for 5, isn't
4
it?
for 5, yeah. I think it's 4 charges for...
Yeah, they have his the tooltip updated, not the card image.
Right.
So, you hit 4 charges pretty often. Bottled Vitae helps accelerate you there faster. It gives you time, and it helps counter Life Siphon. For starting to figure out how well the metagames and going and testing, I would run with a pretty safe pick like Running Deer.
Right, and that's going to be pretty good, especially against like some sort of Mono Ruby. Mono Ruby seems to have fallen away right now in the tournament scene. We've also got some invasion we could get from drifting downriver, which has been proven to be really good, and we have plenty of things. We can have some flying rhinos or plenty of things to target with this. Eldritch Stream really won't need it, but a lot of our stuff already has that evasion.
Well, and the reason I look a little less in evasion in this case is because a lot of our big hitters have crush, and then Eldritch Stream is unblockable.
Right, so I don't feel like this is the
less
guy
of a
for
need
us.
for it.
Yeah, and we also aren't running we're not running a flying deck. We're not running what's it called? Air superiority.
Air superiority.
Yeah, so that kind of like nixes that guy in my mind. Mukashin is gonna give us a battle hopper. We're not really playing that, and I guess we could buff it with Wild Root Dancer. But other than that, I mean, I don't feel like we need to hold on to anything. We're trying to be the aggressor with this deck.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have any cards in the deck that rely on bodies being in play. Right. If we needed bodies in play, then Mukashin is always a good card to default to.
Yeah, drawing more cards is always good, but I think we have so much card draw that this guy's going to be maybe less relevant.
Yeah.
This guy, the thing I don't like about this is it's this turn. It's really good, but I think that he's more for that that Ruby wild aggro deck that's got that low end, like, you know, tops out at 4, where like two cards that cost 4 and everything else is like 3 or below.
Yeah.
I think that he's more for that deck, you know, with like Gas Troll and stuff. Not really for us.
Well, yeah, it's and also for single creature charge and trample cards is most likely what that best turns around for.
Right. It's pretty obvious that the mill isn't going to work for us either. So yeah, I think we'll go with Running Deer here. I think we'll go ahead and we'll go with him.
But I tell you what, if you really wanted to fake out your opponent, put the mill in there. Right. If you have a really solid setup, and all of a sudden your opponent is thinking mill's coming, and then you run at them with a blue-green beats deck, and they're not going to be very happy.
Right. So the other thing that I forgot is that the other champion that untaps everything is Diamond. So that completely nixes that idea. So we may not actually end up playing these Howling Braves. We really have to look at what's going on with our deck. So we definitely want to turn 1 Chosen because we're playing them. That's kind of more of a reason not to play Howling Brave right now.
True. I mean, he does definitely take up the 1 spot, or the single spot in there.
Right. I mean, it's more 1-drops, but I mean, what are we really getting with Howling Brave? A turn 2 Crash Abyss, maybe a turn 3 Eldritch Stream.
Yeah, I mean, it gets you the acceleration option, which is fantastic. But the other side is Ancestor gives you late game flyers or mid game flyers with draw option.
Right.
But the other side of that is playing the first turn Ancestor's Chosen makes it harder to pull your escalations as well.
Right. So I'm thinking we can actually safely pull the Howling Brave. How do you feel about that? I think we can. I mean, it's going to help us cast Crash Abyss as well, but...
we don't have any 3 threshold cards. We have Shards of Fate to even out the thresholds. So I think in that case, we can drop the Howling Brave as a fixer.
Yeah, I think we can do that.
If his purpose is to be fixing and not accelerating, then he can be dropped.
Yeah, I mean, we're not really playing any 5. I mean, we might play 1 Gralk. I mean, and that's just more or less at the end of the game. We tap everything out and we're like, yep, we're swinging in with 17 Rhinos.
Nope. Have fun facing the Stampede.
Right. So apparently we still have 70 cards. That means I need to refresh this. So let me do that real quick. I need to refresh the browser here, and it's refreshing. And it still says we have 70 cards, so I'm not sure if it's updating or not. No, it's updating. Okay, 70 cards.
Yeah, we added stuff in there.
That's right.
And
we added the
from
Shards
the chat,
of Fate.
they're making a really good comment that for Root Dancer, the Brave is very good at making sure you get fantastic value out of them, because dropping the Brave in and then getting the best value out of your 3rd resource drop.
True, very true. Well. So that actually does justify him more in the deck to me. And in that case, we might actually dump like Sensei or something. We have a lot of cantrips. Go ahead.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where we could also look at trimming down the Sensei, or maybe looking at Wrenlocke actually really being needed there.
Yeah.
Because if we're trying to balance speed with growth, then we want to enable our growth through the speed.
Right. Wrenlocke decision is going to come down to how many. We need to have at least half the deck be like spells, so he'll probably end up coming out realistically. So yeah.
So here's another comment. So we can actually make this argument. Do we want the Ancestors Chosen because it makes the deck thicker? Should we run the Brave because it enables our synergies better and accelerates us, saving our mana for Countermagics and better plays?
Well, I mean, the Ancestors Chosen is one that, like, every time I see it up, I try to kill it. It's one I feel like is a must answer. Other people, I've seen other players not answer it and do okay, but I just feel like there seems to be like this pocket that develops after about turn 4 or 5, where all of a sudden it's like they just like are like chosen, or well, what was it, Spectre? So it's like Spectre, and you're like, huh? I gotta why?
Well,
that's like eight Spectres.
Well, and that's definitely valid. The Now, but when doing that, you may have 8 specters, but any amount of specters still falls to an extinction.
Sure.
And as soon as omens begins to be allowed in the tournaments, you're going to see pack raptors and specters go by the wayside pretty quickly once that part hits the meta,
Right.
as people adjust and move around to that.
Right, for sure. Okay, so you think we should pull the chosen, and then add the what do you call it? The Howling Brave.
I really do like Howling Brave in there. I especially like, if we're going to look at our growth tech being Wild Root Dancer, then we need to enable Wild Root Dancer better.
So what we could do is maybe drop chosen down to 2.
Yeah, I mean, because if anything, you want the first turn chosen, but do you want the 7th turn chosen?
No, you really don't. Even
Do
but
you want the 7th
realistically,
turn Howling Brave?
you really don't want that guy
enable
either, though. You don't want a 7th turn Howling Brave either. So either way, you really don't want those really.
I don't know, if I have an 8th turn Honeycap, I might want a 7th turn Howling Brave.
Oh, we're definitely not playing Honeycap in here. That just doesn't fit at all. Okay, so going back here, we need to cut down. We have a resource we can cut where we can take we should be able to take this to 23 resources. We got 4. So that's, I'm just going to do this right now just so we can see the deck better. So that's 10, 11.
So right now we're sitting at 26 resources with 4 Shards of Fate.
That's 22. So I'm just gonna so we can see how many cards we need to cut here. We need to cut 10 cards. Shield I like for the deck for Eldritch Stream. Could protect Crash the Beast. Could also protect our Chosen. So I really like that. I think that's a decent 2 of. I don't think we can move that around. Mimic is iffy. It's like, what are we mimicking?
Well, and I've seen some really nice plays on Mimic during turnaround games.
Right, yeah, I mean, you can mimic somebody else's thing. It's more of a, I feel like it's a sideboard card, so we'll move that to some sort of sideboard, actually. We'll do that with Mimic.
Now, what are we thinking about maybe the Dingler, though?
Dingler I put in there because it's like one of my favorite removal cards, but it's kind of falling off now that we've got Countermagic.
Yep.
If anything, it's nice removal for like that fist or other things that you need to deal with, and you need to deal with now. But I mean, and well, I guess it really doesn't do anything there either.
Well, ideally, by the time Fist comes around, even a turn 3 Fist, if we're on the play, you can deal with on Countermagic.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a very good chance we can turn 2 Countermagic in this deck, which is pretty strong, too, with the Howling Brave. So I think Dingler could probably get pulled as well, like you're mentioning. I also really hate Mesmerize. I got some hate for this card. It's removal. It's really good in a limited sense, but again, they're going to get their swing in, and then they're going to, they're not going to ready, I guess, after that.
The swing's going to come in. We don't have any ability to tap down everything reliably to minimize that. So, Mesmerize, it has a place. I don't believe it's here.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, Countermagic just outshines it completely. I mean, it's more or less like a lot of these things we're removing our removal there, like after the fact. It's like, well, we need to deal with it because now it's on the board and we didn't have Countermagic at the time, or we didn't have enough resources for it, or whatever. But
well,
so
and
we have to kind of
aggressively
balance
costed
that
too.
Yeah,
and that's the other thing to remember. So
we can always pull it back
turn
in.
7, we could have 7 resources, play down our Eldritch Dreamer, and still have 3 open for Countermagic.
Right. So let's see. With Wrenlocke in the deck, play an action. I'm guessing Wild Aura does. Oh, it does count as an action. It says quick action. So what have we got? We've got 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That doesn't count. 11, 12, 13,
counts.
14. No, Bottled Vitae. Doesn't count.
Bottled Vitae.
Yeah,
True.
14, 15, 16. So we got 16 cards. That's a decent amount for like a 1 of. Kind of interesting. We could probably dump them. Let's see what we got. 65 cards. We got 5 cards out of the deck right now. Phoenix Trainer's kind of cute, but I don't think it really works for us. We could probably safely pull him. He was just an idea.
I think we can pull him.
Yeah, we can pull him. He's just kind of like too cute right there.
Well, and I would say if the Dreamer was blockable, then we would want a way to enable him better, but then we would enable him through the champion.
Right.
So I like Menacing Gralk.
Yeah, I think I do like the singleton Menacing Gralk as a finisher for this deck. Where it is the board stays stalled out, and then all of a sudden you tap everything down, and you're like, I'll just swing with 17 rhinos. We're at 63 cards. We have a lot of card draw already, so we could either go with like Bottled Vitae or Oracle Song here. We have a lot of nice 1-drops. What do we want to play on turn 1? Howling Brave or Ancestors Chosen. So that kind of makes a case in my mind that we want to kind of get rid of some of these Bottled Vitaes.
I always hesitate in dropping the Bottled Vitae because I love the effect of the charge, but I loved it better when it was a 1 with a 1 cost power.
Right.
When you've got Oracle Song for that same 3 cost, you want the additional card.
Yeah.
Before you want the charge or before you want the life.
So maybe drop like one of these and like drop this down to 2. Let's see, where we need one more card. No, we're at 60 that way. So we can hold the 2 Vitaes, maybe go 3 Oracle Song, and I feel like we're there. I think we're there. We just need to get our curve properly set up, and then I think that we're pretty much there. Let's look at where our curve ended up. Ooh, we need to look at this. Ooh, so we need some better...
Let's see.
We need to dump some of these 3 drops and then put these 2 drops up somehow or something.
All right, so our 3 drops we have are sitting at Crash the Beasts.
Yeah, we can't get rid of that.
Yeah, and I'm relying on your scroll here, sir.
Yeah.
Let's see. We have Countermagics. We're not dropping Countermagics.
Yeah,
so there's 8 of them there.
Song. It's going to be Oracle Song.
So yeah, we have Wild Root Dancer and Oracle Songs that are there.
Yeah, we need to dump Oracle Songs.
So if we were going to dump the Oracle Song, would we want to go ahead and
we could buff
put one more
Vitae.
Vitae back in?
Yeah, we could do that. We could take this song down to maybe 1 and put the 4 Vitaes in. And that'll take us back up to 60. Now, so what that does is basically Vitae then becomes half and half, like 1 drop and half 2 drop at that point. So it kind of takes up both those slots because it's a turn 2 card that we actually get use out of, whereas it's a turn 1 drop. But turn 1 it doesn't do anything.
Well, and the other part is the Bottled Vitae forces a more focused champion decision as well. Because you want a power to use over and over again, which gaining 5 life is powerful in a green deck
respectable.
That needs it.
Right. So this seems viable to me. I mean, decent. I'm not sure if it's going to be competitive, but decent. So we just need to fix our shards. So we're going to go ahead and count it up, and it does a nice job of this for us. So it looks like, well, actually it doesn't count icons though, which is what I do. So we've got 4 icons here. I'm counting the Sapphire icons first. So 4 with 2 Eldritch Shields. 4. It's another 8 plus 4 would be 12. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. So we have 27. I'm going to type this in here. 27 icons. And scrolling back up here. Now we do have some nice fixing also with the Brave is going to help us out too here with the wow.
We have really good fixing as far as it comes to Shards of Fate and Howling Brave. Because really, sometimes we're going to fix for Crash, but I imagine most of the time we're probably going to end up fixing for Sapphire.
Okay,
because we have a lot more of the 2 threshold Sapphire cards.
So we ended up with 22 wild shards, and we're going a little bit late tonight, so I apologize for that right now. I don't think I'm actually going to get to play the deck, so we're probably going to close it out. You guys are welcome to try it as well. I do have to make sure I can put the kids to bed here, so that way I can get to the tournament game later. This is so we've got a 27-22 split. So what that tells me is that we need, maybe we could go something like this, like 11 Sapphire Shards and 8 wild shards. We need to make sure that we have the wild shards to play the turn 1. So it depends on how important that turn 1 is to us right now. But we need to make sure we also have enough Sapphire Shards because we have a lot of double threshold. We got Wrenlocke, we've got the Countermagic, which is very important to us, Eldritch Dreams, and Eldritch Shield. We also look at the fact that like Eldritch Dream is a 4 cost and has the 2 threshold. Hopefully, once we've played 4 shards, we will have drawn into it. I think that we're pretty good with this. This is like, I do like I play the decks for a while, and then I start fixing a little bit more. As you know, I kind of go by feeling more than I go by anything else when I'm doing the fixing and the mana fixing. I kind of like just count things up and try to make decisions that way.
Yeah, I think for the amount of resources we have and the amount of fixing that's there, we should be able to consistently hit our shards, especially with only 2 threshold being there and our highest cost being a 5. So all of our additional draws of resources are going to be maximized later in this game, or in the games with this deck, by Wild Root Dancer.
Right. Okay, so just close things out. Just talk about what we talked about today. So we talked about Mokog and how it is that he is a financial giant. Actually, he really knows his stuff. So make sure you guys are looking to him when we're talking about finances and Hex in the future. And we've also got some Kickstarter news. We talked about the patch notes. We also talked about this deck that we've been putting together, where it was, again, Derringer put this deck to sent me this deck. I hope that it works well for you. I hope that you put this together later and you appreciate it. But if you hate it, that's fine. I can always try again. If I went completely off keel, which sometimes I do, and like I completely go off of exactly what the idea was for the deck, let me know and I can try again. Mokog is here. Make sure to check out his channel. He's going to post that stuff again. I'm going to let him go ahead and plug his stuff one more time. He can go ahead and talk you through that.
Oh man. So go ahead and if you want to check out some Hex economic based stuff, or maybe some of the MMOTCG stuff we're doing for some learning materials, I'll try to pair and cover off topics from Squire when he's doing a lot of his learning stuff. You can check and find all that content out on my YouTube channel. If you want any other types of consistent updates, go ahead and hit me up on Twitch. If you are not on Twitch, or Twitter, I recommend you also get on Twitter as well, because we do an awful lot of our communication in the community through Twitter. Right. You can catch some every once in a while. I'll do a written piece for one of the sites we have out there, DTCG.com, the Utopian Chaos main site. I'll do a few things for them here and there. Or you can go try to check out my guild, Haven. Really good group of guys trying to work on a lot of different decks and tech right now. One of the up-and-coming guilds that's been organized around from the very beginning of the game. But other than that, if you just want to find me, you can always just shoot me an email through Twitter or through the main forums. I'm Mokog on the forums, and everything will be nice. And I'm easy to get a hold of. I respond. I don't bite often. I'm not that mean in game, I hope.
Yeah, I mean, so everyone knows my catchphrase, but Mokog here does not have
No, give me suggestions for a catchphrase. My God, I need one so badly.
Yeah, Mokog needs a catchphrase, so make sure to hit him up with an idea for a catchphrase. He's, you could call him the miser or something. I don't know, something.
Miserly
the money
Mokog.
guy, Mr. Moneybags, or I don't know.
Man.
That's actually a pretty
Moneybags
negative
Mokog.
one.
How about
we won't
that?
call that. We won't call you that, but
man,
something.
if I turn into Mr. Moneybags of Hex, I just got to make sure I earn it once the auction house is released. It's like, man, if you need to borrow platinum, you need to go talk to Mokog. He trades well. Why is that? Because he owns the auction house. I'm okay with that.
So just to remind everyone, we've got the Hex Tournament streamers going on. I'll be on a little bit later, about 10 o'clock for my game, my time. So that's a little less than an hour. I got to go ahead and put the kids to bed and tell them stories. We've got the Hex TCG Procast, which is on the new channel, which is the Hex TCG Pro channel I believe it's at 7 o'clock Central Time now on Thursdays. And again, congratulations, Shaggy, on getting the job over at Cryptozoic. And this is Aaron Squire saying God bless you and your families, and try not to rage too much out there.
And this is Mokog that apparently does not grow on trees. At least that's what Soldak says. Oh, good luck in your stream. Win.